The young black athletes are not disrespecting America or the military by taking a knee during the anthem. They are respecting the best thing about America. It's a dog whistle to the racist among us to say otherwise. They and all of us should protest how black Americans are treated in this country. And if you don't think white privilege is a fact, you don't understand America.
We rebroadcast that Dale Hansen Unplugged yesterday here on the 4 p.m. and whether it's on that program or Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, you've probably seen it on your social media feed. Everyone from rapper Snoop Dogg to Russell Simmons have shared that speech now, Dale, and so we thought we should bring you back in because we've seen responses that have really gone the gamut here. They're all over the spectrum.
Yeah, well, that was the line I was actually going to use when you asked me about it, but I have been told that I should run for president, that I'm one of the gifted orators of our time, or that I should be shot in the head and thrown in the Trinity River and die. I had a guy just call me just before I came over here, and he said, "I hope you die. You are an incredibly fat, old, ugly man." And I thought, fat? I told my wife we needed a new mirror at the house, and the problem is this man doesn't know me at all, Jason. You know me. I'm not fat. I'm just big boned.
Big boned.
But I have to be big boned to hold up all the fat, of course. But that's it is amazing to me what people have written. I've read some of the most vile, racially charged comments about football players, and one woman in particular. And it always bothers me when it's from a woman. I've become accustomed to it. It'd be some guy drinking his beer and he fires off this thing. A woman writes and uses every N-word, every racial slur she can, and then ends it by saying, you know, and you're afraid to say so, that every one of these boys, if they weren't playing football, would be locked up in prison because they would have killed somebody or raped a woman. You don't know that I'm a racist. You don't know me at all. And I wrote her back and I said, oh, I believe I do. I believe I do.
Isn't it amazing, too, the vitriol that you see coming out here? And it goes far beyond national anthem and a flag. And you see some of the ugliest things that you could possibly see. I just started making my way through the comments on our Facebook page, Dale. And I know you, and we've talked about this in the past with some of the other things that you've done Unplugged on. And you go through every one of these emails and phone calls and comments. Do you still do that?
I go through every email. I only respond, and I answer every email. I'm rethinking this, by the way. It might be time to rethink this. I don't go to the Facebook postings. I don't read our Facebook page, etc. But I do feel that if a person, good or bad, takes the time to actually send me an email, I feel I owe them the obligation to respond, that I have read it, I have seen it, and depending on what they say, sometimes I just say thank you, sometimes I say, wow, I give, sometimes we have a healthy debate, the good ones. There's not nearly enough of those. But yeah, I take a certain amount of perverse pride in the fact that if you're going to address an email to me, as vile as it may well be, you will indeed get a response from me. You will get an answer from me. And like I said, I'm starting to maybe think, maybe I should rethink that.
Maybe revisit that policy.
Yeah. But for the time being, I will.
So a couple of years ago, you spoke about Michael Sam and about gay relationships, specifically in pro football. Got you an invite onto Ellen. That one really blew up and went viral as well. And I remember when you went on Ellen and you talked about how, it was, some people were really taken aback because here was this older, big-boned white guy.
Thank you very much.
Making a comment about something like this. And it kind of, people were a little bit shocked by it. What kind of extra weight do you think it gives to have an older white guy talking about white privilege?
Had to bring the extra weight part into it as well. But no, that's part of it, although I haven't gotten any of that. I think people were shocked because the Michael Sam commentary was basically the first one I think that went viral, and people began with, forgive me, sir, I live out in Idaho or Iowa or Nebraska, and we're not familiar with your work. But when we heard, as you know, an old white guy, I think it might have surprised some people. I think it might have bothered some people, but I haven't gotten any of that. That how can an old fat white guy in Dallas write such a thing? If they were surprised by it, they don't know me. Because as I said in that commentary, and I've said it repeatedly every opportunity I get, the greatest thing about this unbelievably great country is that you have the right to protest. And it's not my place, it's not your place, it's not anyone's place to say where you protest. Because protest is designed to be uncomfortable. You know, we had protesters at Channel 8 years ago, and upper management was absolutely upset that they were blocking our driveway. Well, that's where they chose to protest. They were on the public streets, etc. Protest is uncomfortable. It's designed to be uncomfortable. And when I find people saying, and they do say a lot, "Oh, I'm okay with the cause. I think there should be a discussion about this." Just do it someplace else. Do it where I don't see it. Don't do it where I don't have to think about it. That's the only good I think that may well come out of this, is that we're doing a great deal of talking about it now. Unfortunately, we're talking about the wrong thing in terms of the disrespecting of the flag, and we should still be talking about the racial inequality.
I'm curious, though, when you're putting one of these things together, you know that the avalanche is coming, and I'm wondering, do you ever just have that, like, oh, do I want to put myself through this again and go on the air and do this, number one? And number two, you've been around for ages here in DFW. You should be coasting out. You make all of these, you have great vacations, by the way. But do you, how many more of these do you have in you? I mean, you just keep coming with these things that just really seem to touch on this nerve all these decades into your career. You're just blossoming still.
I hope I don't have too many on the one hand. I mean, I really don't. I would love to live in a world where nothing angers me, nothing makes me move to write something. In answer to the first part, no. I do sit there and kind of chuckle to myself, quite frankly, that, oh, wow, that's going to, but I don't write, as some people have said, not this time, but and other times, well, you're just writing for the shock value. You're just writing to be a shock jock, And yeah, I think this might scare people, but I've never written anything I don't believe. I have never written anything I don't believe. I just got off doing a radio interview, and he said, well, I know you ran this one past the Democratic committee to make sure. I said, well, I'm going to give you a scoop. Hillary Clinton wrote it for me, and Chuck Schumer signed off on it. I write, as you know, I write everything myself. I do not have to worry about somebody saying yes, no, etc. But I would like to live in a world where I don't have to write about the issue of gay rights, where I don't have to write about the issues of a social injustice, where I don't have to write about the Cowboys signing a player who beat up a woman, where I don't have to write about police officers being shot on the streets of Dallas. I would love to live in that world, but we don't. And I don't think we are, unfortunately, in my lifetime. So if something moves me again, I'll wade into it. And unfortunately, as I think my lovely Mrs. Hansen will tell you, I don't get too concerned or too bothered by, oh, this is going to make somebody mad or somebody's going to be upset. I kind of enjoy it, quite frankly. I mean, I really do. I'm kind of like the spy in the Russian spy Rudolph Abel in the movie Bridge of Spies. When people say, are you worried about this? Are you worried what the reaction is? Would it help?
And I know this guy, and all of that is true. Dale Hansen going unplugged with us here today in the 4 p.m. If you haven't seen this, by the way, just yet, it is on our WFAA Facebook page. It's pinned at the very top. We'll be right back after this. Thanks, Dale.
My pleasure.